Okay, welcome to Endgame class for tournament players. Normally I do some funny rigmarole to decide which player, but since there was an endgame, very interesting endgame played here last night at the chess club in the Norm tournament, I thought I'd just look at that player's endgames. That player is Cristian Chirila from Romania, some reason having a Spanish name, but and he was got into this winning endgame, immediately blundered. His opponent played better than perfect, and then blundered as soon as it was easy, and the game was decisive. Okay, now normally I would choke on my own rage, but there was another game going on that was much worse between Eric Rosen and Vladimir Georgiev, where Georgiev was +6, +5, +4, +5, +6, and then he lost on time when he was like slightly better. Pathetic. Okay, and I have to work in these conditions. Terrible. Okay, so, but it does explain why I hardly ever lose, because look at the competition. Okay, so black played king c7, which is a good move. And, well, okay, white's going to try to queen, but not now because his rook is hanging. In this kind of ending, what's important is whether the kings get in front of the passed pawn. White wants his king in front. Black wants his king in front. Black's not getting his king in front because, as we say, the king is cut off. It can't, move towards the pawn because the rook is on the d file. In this position, white has 3 moves that win, and he decided not to win. Later, black decided to lose, so everybody was happy. Well, rook d4 doesn't win because we just trade the rooks and play here, and then this is a draw. Well, not king c6, but king e6. And for those of you at home that are not very good, which is all of you, okay, then it ends in stalemate. Okay. So rook d4 doesn't win. However, rook d3, rook d2, and rook d1 all win. Every move wins. White decided not to win. A very interesting decision. The reason it's an interesting decision is because white knows his rook's going on the d file so that the black king can't saunter over. Rook d4 is a very elementary king and pawn ending draw. So basically, white has 4 choices. 3 of them win, and he chose the one that drew. And he played rook to d5. This is bad because it's next to the black king. Now, if you remember what I said, but it was 2 minutes ago, so you should rewind it home. Black's goal is to get the king in front of the pawn, which isn't going to happen. And white's goal is to get the king in front of the pawn, which will happen. If the white king is in front of the pawn, how do we check him away? Do we check him away from the green arrow or from the red arrow? If the white king is in front of the pawn?
The red arrow.
The red arrow. Okay, because you can't check him from where the green arrow is. Now this is the part of the game that doesn't make any sense. Black played perfect and was drawing and did everything right. And then as soon as it was a very easy draw, he changed his mind and decided to lose, which I don't get. So he played the only drawing move, which I've already told you. Where was the red arrow? Yeah, rook a8. That's the only move that draws. Now, I'm not telling you this because I know that's the only move that draws. I don't know anything. But I do know how to access table bases. And table base said that's the only move that draws. Also, I know you want your rook to be in front of the pawn to check. Now, if the white rook was behind, not on d5, black wouldn't be able to play king c6 attacking the rook, which is what happened. White played e4, and black played rook check, the only move that draws. And the thing is, if you start moving your king up, then you start losing your pawn. Okay? And so you can't do that. So you have to play some other king move, and now black played the only move that draws. Very nice. Taking advantage of the rook on d5. If the rook was on d1, d2, or d3, this is a win. This move prevents the white pawn from moving. Yes. King c6. If the rook was on d1, d2, or d3, white plays e5 and wins. If now white plays e5, somebody else wins. Okay, so white can't do anything. If he protects his pawn with his king, the rook checks you, attacks the pawn. and you got nothing. White realized that he had nothing here. He knew what was up. So he played a very sneaky move. He made a move that did nothing. Okay, this is actually a very good move. If he tries to do something, there's nothing to do. You want to keep your rook on the D line so that the black king doesn't walk over. So he played rook to D4, and now if it's white's move, white plays E5. So black played king C5, because otherwise this pawn's protected, and if you go in front, and I'm like, hey, I want to push my pawn, and you check me, now I'm going to push my pawn. So you have to play king C5 and say, get your rook out of there. Okay, and white's like, oh, well, that didn't work, and he checks him back to the same position. Always repeat. Good job, Mr. Chirila. So now white played king G5 and said, it's your move. And black said, I have a good idea. Let's lose the game immediately. Okay, and this is the first position where every move draws. Previous to this, black had one move that drew in every position. Now, black doesn't have to move and it's a draw. King G5 does nothing. All rook moves on the back rank that don't hang the rook are a draw. In fact, I think rook C8's a draw also. Rook D8's not good, because he takes it. Okay, and we already discussed this, and it's not like that I know it because I'm cheating. I mean, that is why I know it. But he knows it because he already did it. I'm like, he played rook A8, he played rook F8, he did everything right. He put his rook in front of the pawn, white wants to get his king in front of the pawn, and then queen his pawn. He can't because of where the rook is. So for example, rook H8, anywhere. Okay, so again, if white moves his king over, we're going to check him. And you can't go here or here because I take your pawn. And if you go to F5, okay, great, hooray. And nothing's happening. There's nothing going on. And black decided, this is too easy, I'm going to lose. I wonder if he actually decided that. And he played rook F1. Now, I understand if black had played rook A1 when the game started, that we looked at because he doesn't know how to draw. But he played rook A8, rook F8, showing he knows how to draw, then he forgot the next move. Now, if white's king goes in front of the pawn, that's it, we can't check him. He just starts moving his king and pawn up. Okay, now obviously white can't move his pawn now because king takes rook. Well, if you play E5, you lose your rook. So he moved his rook away. And now it's already winning, it's over. I'm gonna play E5, E6, rawr. And if you put your rook behind my pawn, I put my king in front of my pawn and I just push them up. Now, it's too late to play rook F8 because I play E5. If the pawn was on E4, this would draw. But the pawn's on E5. And we're going to play E6 and so forth. So after rook D2, it's over. And we get a Lucena type position, which any tournament player can win except Harper Evan Smith. That made me even madder. I'm never going to get over that. Yeah. And if there's a beginner beatdown next week, and I'm not doing it, which I hope is the case, I got to have Mike Hummer show him the game between Doug Eckert and Harper Evan Smith, where it was a Lucena position, and then he just didn't win. They agreed to a draw. Okay, this is a very well-known position, no matter where the pawn is. You build a bridge, you stop the checks, you queen. Harper Evan Smith rated 1940, had no idea how to win this position, and he didn't win against a master. Would have been the first master he ever beat. He'll never beat one again, I guarantee that. So that was his only hope. I would be meaner, but I don't know how. Joe, can you help? How can I make more fun of Harper Evan Smith?
I can help,
but if you had Lucena's position against Eckert, you would win with less than a second, with no delay and no increment.
Probably.
But he had no idea. He's like, how do you win?
None?
Like he's like, I know how to win, but I forgot. Okay, now, I mean, Chandra's not resigning here for some reason, playing a grandmaster. Okay, so he played some silly move. Okay, then rook F2, and okay, resigns. Then I queen next move. Okay, so the way to win this position, assuming black isn't silly, notice how white can't move his king anywhere. So the first thing we do is we have our rook block the checks. We check him away. Now we're going to queen. Hooray. And now we're going to queen. Okay, and now we're going to play rook here. And if he checks us, we go here, and we block the checks. And we win. This has been known since before chess was invented, this method. Okay, and so Chandra knew that that was winning, so Chandra just played a silly move, rook a1. Okay, and then he resigned. Ugh. Okay, so that inning was a win, then it was a draw, then it was a win. Since I get paid by the hour, let's go back. So, king c7, every rook move wins. Rook d3, rook d2, rook d1. He found the only move that didn't win. Now it's a draw. And the reason it's a draw is we attack the rook, and the pawn can't move forward. If the white rook was on any of these squares, white would play e5, e6, e7, which now is a bad idea. Okay, and he can't do that, so he played king g5, said, would you move your rook to the worst square, please? And black's like, sure. There you go, now you can win. And white's like, thank you. Now, of course, if black's rook was on f8, he would play rook e8, rook f8 check, rook e8, rook f8 check. But now, since white wants to hide his king here, and the only place you can check is here, now you're winning. e5 is the threat. So, and it's over. And this is just well known to everybody. For those guys. Very strange move, rook f1. Especially when he played rook a8. The only drawing move. I was following this last night and very upset. I was like, rook d5, the only move that doesn't win, and then black played perfect. Perfect. Every move perfect. And then here, when every move drew, he played rook f1. All these moves draw. Just keep your rook there, and the guy can't move his pawn forward or move his king forward. Rawr. Furious. Okay, that stuff happens. Now, since Chirila won that endgame, which he shouldn't have won, although he should have won, then he shouldn't have won, I figure we'll look at his games. We'll look at his great endgames. And he's been to our chess club more than once. And most of his games are from Romania, because he's from Romania. Good reason. This game I really liked. Now, Chirila, for some reason, his name doesn't end in a U, so we have to start an investigation. Are you ready, Ben Simon?
Yeah.
If you're male and you're from Romania, your name ends in a U. If it doesn't, then I demand an investigation. Now his opponent, this was played in the Romanian Championship. Notice his name ends in a U, so he's okay. Yeah, I don't know why Chirila's name. I'm going to ask him at dinner tonight. Dude, your name ends in an A. And he'll be like, yeah, I'm really from Brazil. Yeah. Okay. Now this endgame I like. Black took the knight, obviously. White's up in exchange, but I mean, he's got doubled pawns, and they're like attacked and blocked. These pawns aren't very good. Black has good drawing chances. So I really like the first move of this endgame. He puts black to a decision of what to do about these b pawns, and he plays b3. So now, if you take this b pawn, you're going to lose all of your pawns. Like bishop takes b5, rook takes, threatening the bishop twice, and threatening rook takes g5 check. Very nice. And if you take the other b pawn, which he did, now I can protect this b pawn with the rook behind the pawn, which is what you want. And so that's what he did. So actually getting rid of this pawn was a good idea. Now his pawn's extra protected. Okay, and now he played b6 because you want to queen your pawn. King h7. And he played h3 so his king wasn't tied down in the back rank. And he's stopping g4. And now he did something I tell all my students to do. I'm still waiting for one of them to do it. When they do, let me know, Ben. Activated his king. King should go up. That would be a good move. Let's see if I can do it. Nope. Darn. Okay, so king f. So he played rook b4 first, which stops d4. Okay, that's even better. Then he played king f1, king d2, king moving up every time. And now he played rook c5, which I like. And the idea is you want to play b7, b8, but if you play rook a7 and then play b7, your rook on a7 is trapped. So he wants to play rook c7 and then b7. His rook on c7 has thousands of squares. This move I like. King g6, terrible. Rook c7, b7, now we're talking. King e5. This is a blunder. Although black's already losing, and it's really hard to see why this is a blunder, so I give him a break. So he gets a break. First, it's hard to see it's a blunder, and second, his name ends in U. So I give the guy a break. What, does your name end in U? Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, he plays king e5. Now there's a very nice tactical trick that wins for white. Anyone? Anyone at home?
Rook c8, and then if rook takes b7, then rook e8 check and take the bishop.
Exactly. Well, you have to play rook takes pawn. And now you check and take the bishop that's defending the rook. Very sneaky. Let's see, his opponent's rated 2150. That explains something. Although, how did he get such a good position? Right, and now you're just up a rook. But this was very nice because if the white rook was here, that's not a good square for your white rook. There, now c7, there's a good square. So white moved his king up, blocking the pawn, advanced his own passed pawn, and made it work so his rooks were really strong. In fact, black might have been worried about getting checkmated by the two rooks. So that's how the game ended. For some reason, he played rook h7 instead of the better move. Where's Julian when you need him? Julian's favorite move. Resigns. Yeah. Right. Goes down a rook. If you take this rook, I take this rook. Then white's up a rook. Okay, and then, man, the guy played on a long time. All right, then the guy resigned here. Goes down a rook and losing all of his pawns. So that was a very nice endgame because, well, not only did he win, but he advanced his passed pawn while keeping both of his rooks active, and he made his king active. He did everything. He took his time. Yeah, and okay, king e5 is a mistake, but I think it doesn't matter here. Maybe g4, nah, that shouldn't matter, because I'm going to check you and make you play king e5. No, but that's okay, then the rook's not defending the other rook. So yeah, he should have made a waiting move. I don't know what the waiting move is though. King g6, that's terrible. King g6 hangs mate. Yeah, so he was in Zugzwang here, amazing. Can't move anything. Terrible. King e6 forced. King e5, losing immediately. Wait, king e6 loses for the same reason. Yeah. So this is a funny Zugzwang, he can't move anything. The main point of this ending for me, not for anybody else, most people are like, hey, that pawn's queening, hooray. I like the king moving over and stopping this pawn, because then black can't do anything. Okay, very nice game, unlike the other one, where I've never been so angry, never. Okay, now this was played at UTD because a lot of the foreign players in the US who are playing in this tournament and who are IMs and GMs are going to UTD, UMBC, Webster, Texas Tech, UT Brownsville, and Lindenwood, and that's it. I mean, there's some other schools. And we have a lot of GM norm tournaments because we have these foreign players that can play. Now this looks pretty drawn because it's rook and 3 against rook and 3. But just because it looks drawn and is drawn doesn't mean it will be drawn. Okay, white has a big advantage. I will accept 3 answers. Name one of white's advantages. Let's call on somebody at home first. You. Yeah, you at home. Nothing as usual. Terrible. Anybody else want to give a try? What are some of white's advantages?
The awesome pawns.
The what?
The awesome pawns.
The awesome pawns?
Yeah.
Wait, these pawns are awesome?
No.
These are? Wait, those are the only pawns.
His pawns are still all connected.
Ah, better pawn structure. Black has an isolated pawn, backward pawn. White's pawns are awesome. Yeah. That's a technical term. I just didn't know it. Awesome pawns. Anyone else? Anyone? Yeah.
White, well, like black's king is kind of stuck. So.
Yeah, I think that's the main advantage. If black's king was on b6, they would agree to a draw. But black's king is cut off. And so, yeah, I'm sort of a king up. So white's pawns are better because blacks are easily attacked. And black's king is cut off. So computer says white is a little better, but I think practically speaking, white is more than a little better. It's hard to play black here. Okay, he defended his pawn, and now white activated his king. King c1, king d2. And white's like, no, you're not going to move your king over. And when white moves his king up, his rook is defending his awesome pawns. So I like rook f2. It defends and it attacks. Rook c4, king d3, rook h4. Two can play that game. We're cutting off black's king. Black is cutting off white's king. b3, stopping black's pawns from moving. Rook h1. Well, if I was black, I would have a problem here. I don't want to play king g7 because rook f5 looks pretty annoying. And if I play king g5, I'm probably worried about the rook coming in this way, which he could have done in any case. So I might have played king g5. He played rook h1, trying to attack. King d4, he did attack. And now c4, the rook defends the a pawn. And again, black is playing without a king. If black's king was over here, that would be better. Took on Puchen, he took. Now the pawns are both isolated, but there's not so many on the board. Again, if black's king was on the queen side, it would just be a draw. Rook d1 defending. Rook f4, he wants to play rook d4. He wants to play rook a4. It's hard to defend both of these pawns. Check, attacks the pawn, defends the pawn, and eventually black decides, I don't want my pawn taken, so he gets two passed pawns, so I'll make him take it and get doubled pawns. In fact, the computer is unsure here whether white should take or just play b4. I know what I would do. I always take pawns. So he took like I would have. Now, if this pawn wasn't here, it would be easier for black to get behind the pawn and try to stop him. Now it's not so easy because the rook is defending this pawn. So when I push this pawn, it's hard to stop. Again, if black had a king and his king was, somewhere on the queen side, it would just be a draw. Okay, so d4 counterplay, d3 counterplay, exciting. Rook check. And now, in the long run, black's just going to lose because black's going to lose this pawn and this pawn's going to queen. So black played the trickiest move he could find. Rook c2. Recommended by Run DMC. Right, Joe? Yeah. So if we trade rooks and both sides queen, that would be a theoretical draw and a practical draw. You'd never win that position. You could try to win, but you're not going to win. Okay, and there's no way you can stop checking ever. You can never go on this diagonal because you'll lose your queen. You can't go on this file because you'll lose your pawn. So I'm just going to always check you, and it's going to be a draw. But white has one move that wins. That's enough. You only need one move. Somebody said it really quietly. Maybe it was somebody home. That's how quiet it was. Who said it really quietly? Rook g2 check. That does win, but for black. Yeah. Wait, that was you that said that? Yeah, no wonder you're sitting back there. You. A7. Okay, you can't play rook takes a2 because white would do the same thing. Okay, so he took the rook, queen, and black put his pawn on the 7th rank. Maybe that's enough to draw, but no. Queen d8, and white has another pawn. Right. All right, let's have the room vote, because the room's usually not too good at this. We're going to not let you vote for Buchanan, because that's usually a mistake. Should white play queen takes pawn or not play queen takes pawn? That is the question. Whether it's as nobler in the mind to give away your queen or to take arms against a sea of passed pawns and by trading end them, to die, to sleep no more. You know the rest, right? Look it up in a dictionary. Okay, dictionary. What a class. Okay, so who says queen takes d2? Thumbs up. Who says no, queen takes d2? And who votes for Hamlet? Anyone? Hamlet? Okay. Usually in Hamlet, we play bishop e3 in the opening to be e3 or not to be e3. That is the question. Queen takes d2 is a mistake because after we trade, the black king runs over. And this would be a draw. You could try to queen, and in fact, you can queen. And then the guy takes it. Okay, so queen d2 wasn't played. Instead, he played a5. Now we're talking. You with some crazy comment.
Couldn't last turn you could have played queen d3 and then take on d2?
Well, if I play rook e3, you can't. But it might win. Might not win. I'm too old to figure it out. Queen d3, your idea is that this wins.
Yeah.
Okay? As opposed to every other move winning. You're insistent on giving your queen away.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't do that, as we discussed in hundreds of lessons. Okay, now rook e3, I'm too old to figure out.
So wait, but isn't that winning?
It is, but I'm too old to figure it out.
Oh.
Yeah. Every move wins, but giving your queen away doesn't in this position. Giving the queen away the way you did, there you can win. a5, showing that white has no interest in giving his queen away. He's more interested in queening his own pawn. And black didn't like that. Black was like, why don't you give your queen away? Okay, and then black did the usual. Where's Julian? He resigned, yeah, because the pawn's pretty strong. That pawn's not as strong. It's easily stopped. So white won rook and 3 versus rook and 3, mainly because the black king was never getting over and helping out. Not very helpful. Okay, and then let's see, we do this. We spin around a little. This I've rarely seen. This is my favorite of the endgames. Now, why is it my favorite? I like it, and it's the last one I get to leave. So it's good for 2 reasons. Now here, white has more space, and white played the move that you would all play. Yeah. Very good. See, I'm going to give you an easy one. White has more space, and black has to be careful that white's going to advance on both wings and try to win that way. f5, I'm not a fan of f5. Black didn't want to defend, so he broke out. Normally, when you're defending and you're worse and you have less space and you're playing for a draw, you're trying to trade pawns. If there's no pawns on the board, it's unlikely a bishop and knight will beat a bishop and knight. Although if you're playing outside the chess club, some of those guys. Okay, so f5, taking en passant, some of you didn't know that rule, takes. Knight e5 check. Now, I'm guessing black was surprised by knight e5 check because trade, how are you going to win? Okay, and now we're going to vote again. Probably you'll get the wrong answer because you're uninformed voters, Americans, typical. Now I got to tell you a funny voting story, true story. Those of you who are watching in Europe won't believe me, but I was there. In 88, I'm close, might have been 89, there was a vote in Amsterdam to eliminate cars. No cars. True story. Because they got canals and bikes and trams and buses. And they voted to eliminate cars. They voted. However, they did not eliminate cars because not enough people voted. The vote didn't count. There had to be some percentage, and they got like 1% of people voted. So, yeah. So we're going to vote here, except you're all going to vote. You can vote for D takes or F takes. Now, my students, I was going to call them something else, but we're being videotaped. My students, whichever move they would play, they would write X E5. Joe knows what I'm talking about. Then I would say which one, and they would not know, and they would randomly guess and be wrong. Oh yeah, I took with the F pawn, I remember. Then as we played the game over, obviously I took with the D pawn, because F5 was played and King D4. Okay, so should white play the red move or the green move? Who votes for D takes E5, the red move? And who votes for F takes E5? Wait, what did I say? Did I call D takes E5 the green move? I like that. All right, who votes for F takes E5, the other green move? All right, and as usual, the uninformed class is wrong. And the lowest rated players are correct. Yeah, took with the D pawn. This gives white 2 ways to win. that way or that way. Or for you, that way or that way, because you're seeing the opposite than I am. So now, my bishop can come in here and take, or my king can come in here, or I can do both. And a third one I won't tell you because I give the answer away. I was shocked at the end of this game. I was very impressed. I'm actually going to tell him about it. I'll say, that game that you won against Haba, and he'll say, what? I didn't play that game. That was my brother. So D takes is better because after F takes, this bishop isn't very good. I mean, we can't do any tricks. Now we can do tricks. Okay, king c6, defending the pawn. Bishop d4 is useless. White's like, okay, you defend your pawn. And then white's like, all right, now I'm going to come beat you. Awesome, right? How does the knight get to f7 or h7 to prevent the king from coming in? Good answer. Good answer. So black's like, no problem. I'm going to save my pawn, and then my king's going to run over and stop you. Ha ha. See? And then you can't come in. I don't care. Okay, now white plays bishop to b6 and bishop to d8. I love bishop to d8. The idea is we're going to stop the king from coming, and we're going to put black in zugzwang. So, for example, if king goes to e8, actually, he might have played king e8. Let me say. No, he played knight e8. If the king goes to e8 and we attack your knight, you have to play king f7. And now white can win in the same way that he won in the game, which really surprised me. So we'll save that for later. So he played knight e8, and he's like, dude, I stopped everything you're going to do. But white can do something he didn't try yet. He tried attacking the pawn on b6 with his bishop. The pawn moved away. He tried to play king h4, king g5. Black moved his king over. But now with the bishop on d8, this black king can't move over this way. So what did white do? Yeah.
King G3.
Yeah, now he went back the other way. Yeah. King g3. He's like, okay, I'll win this way. Whatever. Okay, and now, well, it's not easy to get back over there because your knight has nowhere to go. And if you go to g7 with the idea of king e8, then when I play bishop f6, your king is going back to f7. I mean, you have no space. You can't do anything. So knight g7, and the king walks over. King e8 to go to c6 and stop him. Bishop f6. You got to defend your knight. King e3. And the king just walks in. Yeah, when I take on a6, you're not going to be very happy. And I can stop your d pawn pretty easily. Bishop h4 to e1, for example. So knight there, bishop d8. Now you can't move the knight anywhere, and you can't move the king anywhere. So my king's going to come in here, and you're going to lose. Also, even if white didn't want to win, some people want to win, some don't. The black still can't do anything. Black just has no moves. So, for example, if I was doing this with white, probably before I took your a pawn, I would play bishop here, drunkenly, bishop f2, king c5, and then my bishop's already stopping your pawn. So that was very nice the way he used his bishop to attack the pawn. He used his king to walk this way. Then when black stopped everything, black couldn't stop the king from coming back. Pretty good considering the first ending, we played rook d5. Now, some of you, and most of you at home, and everybody on the internet, are dissing all of our best players today, claiming players from 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years ago played the endgame better. They had two advantages. One is they would adjourn games, then analyze the endgame with their friends. And the other is we have sudden death and where games go for 5, 6, 7 hours. If you've played for 6 hours and you're playing 2 games a day and you're playing 6 days in a row, you're tired when you're playing the endgame. So the endgames aren't played as well today because people are exhausted and they're not adjourning the games and looking at it with their friends. So endgame play was better when you could cheat. Now when you're tired and you can't cheat, the play goes down a little. But this was very nice because you just saunter in with your king and there's nothing that black can do. Black is too passive. I really like d takes e5 because black has so many things to worry about. Well, black didn't worry anymore because he resigned here. In fact, it's very hard to play a legal move here for black. I guess knight g7. And then if you try to run your king over, I do it again. And you got to go back here again. It's funny unless you're black, then it's not as funny. And then bishop d8 again, and you can't move again. Man, life's tough. Although here, I think I would play bishop h4, and then bishop f2 to stop the counterplay. And then num, yum, 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 yum. That's the technical term, right, Ben? Yeah. Okay, so that's funny. Normally I do a lecture on one of the world's top players, and instead I do it on some guy who's got 50% here. That's pretty good. But I'll talk to him about it at dinner and tell him what a great player he is. You think he'll believe me? Yeah, I'll trick him.